Welcome to Resource PNG. It certainly has been a busy week with all that has happened within the political arena in the country. The government, headed by Peter O'Neill, survived a vote of no confidence, putting it on track to serve until the national general elections in 2017. On the economic front, the government has been quick to point out that stability is the key to ensuring the country does not suffer adversely from the effects of a slower global economic growth. The Prime Minister also announced plans by the government to empower resource landowners as a priority before the national general elections in 2017. The International Monetary Fund recently sounded a warning on slower global economic growth. In its most recent World Economic Outlook update, it said the recovery in financial and oil markets that started about mid-February broadly continued through June 23, as markets assumed the United Kingdom would remain in the European Union. Declines in excess oil supply, due mainly to a gradual slowdown in non-OPEC production and some supply disruptions, helped bolster oil prices.
The key takeaway involves the effect of Brexit on the growth outlook. Pre-Brexit, we were prepared to actually upgrade the outlook slightly. That has unfortunately not been possible. Global growth will slow to 3.1% in 2016 to 3.4% in 2017. That's down 0.1 percentage point from where we were in April. We've also looked at possible downside scenarios compared to the baseline that I just described. We have what we call a downside scenario, which is basically moderately worse than our baseline. We have a severe scenario, which is very much worse than our baseline and tries to capture financial conditions like those that existed at the worst part of the euro crisis. Well, we're really in the realm here of unknown unknowns when we try to predict which of these scenarios is going to be most likely or how likely they are. The more quickly this is resolved, the quicker uncertainty will be resolved, and that will be a good thing. But it's also important that the process be cooperative, predictable, as transparent as possible, so that investors, consumers can plan ahead and have confidence in the future. From the reaction of markets after the Brexit vote up until now, we take some encouragement. There were some big price reactions, but markets on the whole function quite smoothly. So that gives us some hope that our baseline scenario is a reasonable one. This is all taking place against a backdrop of risks elsewhere to our projections, downside risks, which we've highlighted in past WEOs. Emerging markets are struggling in many cases, especially commodity exporters. China's transition remains a question mark. Japan continues to struggle with deflation and low growth. So there's plenty of other risks out there and possibilities for spillovers.
In light of these warnings by the IMF, Prime Minister Peter O'Neill emphasized the importance of political stability in the country to weather the tough times ahead.
Many of you know, only today, IMF released its report, really warning that the global growth will be slower than initially thought. This gives even more reason why governments need to be stable in all countries so that they can continue to roll out the programs that they've committed to the people. Today, we are demonstrating again to the global community and to our own people that democracy is alive and well in Papua New Guinea. Our government, and of course the previous government, NA-led government, have shown that stability can provide growth and the development of our country that we have never experienced before. We have enjoyed 8% on average growth per annum over the past 15 years or so. That is a remarkable growth by any international standard.
The Prime Minister's comments come on the back of similar sentiments echoed by Treasurer Patrick Pruish in a recent interview on Resource PNG.
Our country, since independence, has not defaulted in one single loan. We have always been, when it comes to prioritizing our priority of spending, debt has taken number one priority of government. We made sure that our debts are met, then our recurrent, and then of course if there is money left, then we talk about development programs. So I can assure our country and our people that this government and the past government have never defaulted insofar as meeting the obligation in repayment of debts.
There is also optimism within the resource sector, especially with some major projects set to commence construction in the near future. Furthermore, Prime Minister O'Neill also announced a series of changes that the government plans to empower resource owners in the country. This comes on the back of much discussion surrounding ownership of several resource projects, most notably Octedi, as well as ownership in Bougainville Copper Limited, an issue which has seen the national government being at loggerheads with autonomous Bougainville government president, Chief Dr. John Momes.
Well, President Momes has got his own government to run, and we have our own government to run. We will make that decision next week. I will be making a major statement after Cabinet has deliberated on some of the proposals we're going to put forward to NEC. And of course, caucus after tomorrow will sit down and make some decisions on this. But it will not only relate to Bougainville shares, but it will also relate to the LNG shares. It will be also relating to the Western Province Octedi shares. Let me say this again. This government wants to empower landowners to have rightful ownership, rightful ownership of their resources. And I will deliver it to them before I go to the elections. That is my promise. Thank you.
I believe the approach should be not to talk about the monetary aspects of it. I think there is enough story on BCL. The approach should be looking at and working with autonomous region of Bougainville to determine what is the appropriate way of us dealing with Panguna. I think for me, the prevailing issues to be discussed is the damage and the sufferings on the island. That is what I believe national government should be looking at before talking about venturing into reopening the Panguna mine.
The decision by the government to focus on securing more favorable benefits for landowners come at a time when there is increasing pressure from landowners for more than what is being received now, especially in regards to royalty payments. When we come back, the head of EXIM on a one-day visit to PNG. That's coming up next on Resource PNG. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Resource PNG. Despite a global downturn in the economy, Fred Hochberg, chairman of EXIM, was in the country recently on a one-day visit, primarily to meet with government as well as American-based companies operating in PNG. He took time off from his hectic schedule to speak with Resource PNG on a range of issues. The Export-Import Bank of the United States is the official export credit agency of America. It is an independent, self-sustaining executive branch agency with a mission of supporting American jobs by facilitating the export of U.S. goods and services. When private sector lenders are unable or unwilling to provide financing, EXIM fills in the gap for American businesses by equipping them with the financing tools necessary to compete for global sales. EXIM's chairman, Fred Hochberg, was recently in Papua New Guinea for a brief stopover.
I am the chairman of the Export-Import Bank of the United States. We are the Trade and Export Bank of the United States. So we've been operating and providing credit in Papua New Guinea since the 70s. Most recently, the large project we worked on was the ExxonMobil project for LNG. So I wanted to see that project firsthand. It's one of the very largest, and at the time it was the largest in the world we'd ever done. And there are other opportunities here, and so I really wanted to come. I'm going to be meeting with the Prime Minister and to look at ways we can explore some of those other opportunities. Well, I think closer economic ties with the United States I worked for many years in the small business sector. My mother started a business. I know the Prime Minister has a great interest in that. So I think one of the things I think we can find some common ground is where small businesses can export from the U.S. and sell to small companies here.
His purpose? To meet with government and business representatives to get an insight into opportunities for further investment by EXIM in PNG. There are some American-based companies in PNG. Have you had an opportunity to meet with them, and what has been the reaction that you've got from?
Very positive. Our ambassador hosted a breakfast this morning with the business community and met with people from AIG, General Electric, and other companies who would like to increase their footprint here. There's a lot of opportunities. There's a growing population, a young population with many needs, and now with some of the resources that the extractive industries are providing, so that there are more resources to really build up this economy and make it much more sustainable long term.
Hochberg's visit to the country was on the back of Prime Minister Peter O'Neill's visit to China, a growing powerhouse in the Asia-Pacific region. Your visit comes at a time when the Prime Minister has just returned from China. China's increasing its influence within the region. How important is it, do you think, for Exim Bank of America to be involved in the economy of PNG at this time?
Well, that's why I'm here. We did this large project, as I mentioned, with ExxonMobil, and that should be, hopefully that's a door opener, and that's not the beginning and end, but that's the beginning of more projects, either in the extractive industry sector or in other sectors. Aircraft is another sector. Flew in this morning, I should say, on Air Niugini, and there are opportunities in the airspace, in power. A large portion of the population does not have access to reliable power 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Those are the kinds of things that we can sell. The U.S. can sell, and we would like to finance, whether it be power, could be medical, logistics. There are many opportunities here.
According to Hochberg, recent political events have not changed the level of confidence that businesses have in PNG. Currently, there's a situation regarding political stability in the country, or the lack of. Does this in any way affect EXIM's plans for the future in the mid to long term?
We see this as a good opportunity to grow. I came here from London. I'm on my way to Australia. This region and the Oceania region is a very fruitful area. President Obama feels strongly about us having an increased engagement here. This is a good place for U.S. companies to operate, for U.S. companies to export to, and we're here to provide the financial assistance and the financial resources when needed.
Overall, the future looks bright for Papua New Guinea, with PNG increasing its reputation as the gateway to further investment within the Asia-Pacific region.
I think we are demand-driven, so the purpose of this visit is to make sure that companies and people in Papua New Guinea know that we are a source of financing. There are many export credit agencies around the world, but the United States is committed to a very transparent, very open process. We're interested in making sure that the benefits are shared equally between the United States and the people of Papua New Guinea, and so that's really the reason I came today.
Don't go anywhere. After these messages, we take a look at what's been making headlines in Resource News. Welcome back to Resource PNG. A lot has happened within the sector within the past week. Let's now take a look at what's been making headlines in Resource News.
After securing a piece of land outside the 14-mile area, these families are preparing to cultivate the land by farming vegetables. They originate from the Gulf province and believe agriculture is their future and will transform their lives. Today, businessman and founder of NCD Grassroots Network Association, Michael Kandiu, joined the Sevasowa tribe to launch their farming association. Dressed in 7 different colors representing the tribes, this family-based organization prepares to work together, guided by a vision to till the soil and improve their living standard.
Me think plenty people family because one cannot do this alone. Our family member like encourage people and we did a great job and we are going to start now finishing this work.
Having lived for over 19 years in Port Moresby's 9-mile settlement, businessman Michael Kandiu says PNG must work hard to improve its rate of poverty.
If I can able to assist small people to improve their life in next level, God knows that. Maybe one or two people, whatever money that I put through, if their life is changed a little bit, if they're eating a tin piece now, if they can eat a chicken tomorrow, that's better than for Michael Kandiu than nothing else.
Kandiu called on the tribe to hail the agriculture initiative by supporting them with tools and seedlings worth 2,000 kina.
We have started, continue the hauling pass, continue the plowing, the watering, until group like KK Blogan by come up, the future of these children will stop good. What we have started, please continue the hauling pass.
The families have started farming the land with more plans to expand.
Wilson Bogan lives at Butibam village. He started his poultry business in 2009. Like many local poultry farmers, this is his source of income. His livelihood depends on it. The profit he gets goes to buying his children's school fees, clothing, food and other basic necessities. It takes about 6 weeks to look after the chicks until they are ready for sale. A box of baby chickens costs about 200 kina and almost 100 kina to purchase a 40 kg stock feed bag for 6 weeks until they are ready for sale. Now it takes up to 9 weeks for him to sell out his chickens, and the profit he makes now has dropped compared to the previous years. But he says this year is a tough year for him. His business is not growing as he expected and is losing customers. The demand for live birds has dropped. Bogan adds this is because the local firm has now gone into selling live birds. The firm operates as an industrial business in coffee, agribusiness and poultry sectors. I have made several calls to get a response from the organization since yesterday but was not successful. Wilson Bogan is appealing to the provincial government to have a dialogue with the concerned companies so that the business can be given back to them. He says most farmers back in the rural communities depend on this business, and this is only unfair for them as this is their only source of income.
Medang is a beautiful province. The coastal area nearest to the town is dotted with dozens of islands, sheltered from the open sea by rows of reef formations that extend out into the ocean. Even with the sheltered locations, the people who live on the small coral islands face a bleak future as the sea levels rise and the waves steadily wash away their shorelines.
Big changes come up. Last time you meet to round long and you're right, click now we go bara polgeta. Soil erosion take place. Come up one big plus something through now.
We've come back to Panodao Island, and this is where just 2 years ago the village graveyard was being washed away and the island was under threat of being cut in half by the sea. Last year the island received funding for a seawall that now extends along the worst hit part of the island. It's a small but important community effort that has stemmed the erosion of the shoreline, at least for now.
This time now, we walk along, looks away long, passing long Bagarape come up, because plenty awareness come up now we walk long, looks away along this land. Long, so I walk long, rising on top, abrusim level long end. Big play windy walk long, hitting me now looks away long end. So this little bagara walk come up, now walk him now also.
On the sheltered side of the island, a lot of work has gone into protecting the houses that sit dangerously low. Handmade seawalls receive dedicated attention every day.
Plenty talk walk come up along this climate change. Only got one thinking kain ideal time long. Stop him to solonate say. I use walking nine by browsing ken.
But that's not the only problem. An ever-increasing population is putting pressure on scarce resources, and they don't have enough building materials for new houses. Now, while there is some concern about the future, there's no sense of urgency to move off the islands and onto the mainland.
And that's how we end this episode of Resource PNG. If you'd like to get in touch with us, email us on the address now showing on your screen. For all the latest updates on developments within the resource sector in the country, check out our Facebook page. To view this program online, log on to the EMTV website where you will find a link to the Resource PNG page. Until the next time, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.